Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner, unfiltered commentary, and not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back. I showed some footage a few weeks ago when I was on my trip in June, what I call searching for freedom in the United States. This is part one. You can see from the map here where I live in upstate New York, just above the Pennsylvania line. That blue dot is Binghamton. And my trip proceeded through western Pennsylvania, into West Virginia, across to Kentucky, and then down into Tennessee in a little town called Crossville, and I'll show you some clips from Crossville. I already did a little episode on it, but I'll show you a few more clips. It's a town I'm seriously considering moving to. Even this late in life, I'll be 65 this November, and I grew up here, and it's really sad that I might have to leave, but we'll talk about that in another video. And then from Crossville in central Tennessee, I went across to Virginia, all the way across Virginia to Virginia Beach, where my daughter and her family lives, my granddaughter, her husband, and stayed with them, and then proceeded all the way north back to Binghamton, through Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania. And it was quite a trip. It was over 2,200 miles. And this is part one, and I'm going to show you at the end of this video my trip is coming up here. I'm not sure when, September, October, through the south the other way, and you'll see at the end of the video the route I'm going to take. Anyway, so it was an amazing trip. Saw a lot of really neat things. What a beautiful country we live in. Gives you some perspective. Not everything that goes on in this country has to do with Washington and the bat crap crazy politics that's going on now. Our representatives there, not my representative, I have a great one here in upstate New York, Claudia Tenney, New York 22nd. She's great, but overall, that's a small percent. And so I wanted to look, as the COVID restrictions were becoming more and more, and all kinds of rules here and this state that, and how these governors are just tyrants, draconian rules, and deputy sheriffs, local police. Now, we have a great police force here. I used to be on the city council here in the early 2000s. We have a good mayor, but this is his last year. He's term limited out after 8 years. But we have a great police force. As far as the restrictions that were put because of the pandemic, you see a lot of the country where they're just arresting people. They arrested a woman that owned a shop. She couldn't open up her shop. It was kind of like an antique shop. And so she was selling things online, live on Facebook, interacting with no one. Sheriff pounded on her door, told her to stop. You're closed. She says, I am closed. I'm no different than Amazon. I'm selling online. They made her shut down when they were going to arrest her. A lot of the good cops in these major cities are quitting. They're probably going to smaller municipalities or doing another line of work. And the new rookie cops are coming up. And mostly what's left, not all, but mostly what's left in the big city police is just cops that will do anything they're ordered to, no matter how ridiculous or how illegal. So that's how this whole thing started. So I'm just going to show you some what I call windshield clips on the highway. Sorry for the jiggling around. I'm new at this videoing. And sorry for all the bugs on the windshield. I didn't even think of that when I was filming, but that's okay. So let's get to it. It was a great trip, like I said. It was an amazing experience. And here I am just starting off and traveling down Route 81. I live in the 81 runs right through Binghamton. 81 goes almost all the way to Tennessee. It's a long route. 81 goes all the way north of the Canadian border. I'm going south. Sorry for the juggling around, but I just put a bunch of footage together, and you can see it just crossed the Pennsylvania line. But I wanted to talk about some of the people, the experiences, the opportunities that are out there, our freedoms, our rights. And the one thing I noticed right away, the farther south you got, even in Pennsylvania, I went south and west, the friendlier the people were. I'm not going to go as far as say they were better, because I hate to do that, say one type of people are better than another. But I think they were just brought up different culture, mannerly. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know, it's nothing to sit at a red light in a small town down south, and as you're sitting there, you look over at the lane next to you and the driver, and if you make eye contact, they always put up their hand and say, hey. Always friendly. I sat in a gazebo in Crossville in Tennessee. See them coming up on Harrisburg there. Sat in a gazebo in Crossville in central Tennessee, right by the courthouse. Must have had over a dozen people walk by. Every single one said, hey. And 2 or 3 stopped to talk. Just shoot the breeze with a total stranger. And I noticed that. And even in Pennsylvania. Sorry for the erratic camera work, but I'm getting there. I'm learning. And the farther south I got through Pennsylvania, the nicer the people, nicer the drivers. Now, you know, there's bad drivers everywhere, but it's more courteous. You pull on the highway, they make room for you. They don't try to block you out. And our country, as I went around, is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. There's some more of my stunning camera work. It's just beautiful. What a beautiful country we live in. I don't think anybody really knows, especially live in a big city. You know, you need to get the hell out of the big cities. But here's the issue. If you bring your progressive leftist attitude and your personal attitude with you, don't bother. Stay in the big cities. There's a nice farm. Look at the silos. Central and western Pennsylvania is so beautiful. It's too bad they're attached to Philadelphia. And that's the problem like I have in upstate New York. Where I live in Binghamton might as well be Mars compared to New York City, but the problem is we're attached to New York City. So I was traveling to visit a friend in Tennessee. I've been there before in Crossville. And I'm making small steps towards moving there. It's really, really hard to leave the area that you grew up in. I have way, way more respect for people in the past that have migrated in different parts of the United States, just picked up and left everything behind and went west or south, wherever they want. And I even have more respect for a lot of the Europeans that came over in the 19th, early 20th century. My father's people came from Italy, 100% Italian, off the boat, as they say, to uproot yourself and go into another culture. Even that speaks a different language, I have mad respect for you now. So we're going south, and the opportunities, when I mean opportunities, I'm not talking about getting a job at 70, 80 grand a year. I'm just talking about the job opportunities are everywhere. And this is long before COVID and the free money from Washington made it easier for people not to work. I heard there was a pizza guy in a major city was on Timcast that said he was paying $30, $35 an hour to make pizzas. I mean, it's horrendous. Yes, the hourly wage as you further go south is lower than the Northeast, But your cost of living, I think, is less. And there's another cost of living that we don't talk about. And that's the cost of your integrity, the cost of your happiness, the cost of relationships, the cost of just interacting with each other in a friendly, just a demeanor in general. There's other costs involved besides just money. And as you can see, as I'm heading through Western Pennsylvania, it gets a little hillier. What a beautiful, beautiful country. I do know one person in Crossville, and that's enough to get started. Get a toehold. My friend came there from upstate New York, not where I live, above New York City, but not New York City, but far enough away so it's not New York. And they uprooted everything and came there from a job they had, which they were at for a very long time. She's now retired. And she loves it. She can't think of what her life would be like if she hadn't have moved. And there's West Virginia. And it's amazing to me, especially when I hit West Virginia, when you went to gas stations, restaurants, hotels, everybody's friendly. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'd be Mr. John. And if your name was Angela, you would be Miss Angela. And that's the way it is. And you can see the traffic. And another thing, too, as you get farther south, a lot of semis on the road. A lot of semis, especially when it gets later in the day or at night. And all those semis on the road mean one thing and one thing only: commerce, money. The opportunities down there are almost endless, especially if you're young. I'm quite a bit older. I'll be 65 this November, like I said. But if you're younger, in your 20s, in your 30s, and you're stuck somewhere in a city where it's just impossible to make it, get the hell out. Don't bring the liberal, progressive, leftist attitude with you. Get out. Your relationship fine. See if he or she will go with you and start over. That's one thing that America has always been about, is starting over. And the whole world knows it. Except for Americans. It's the damnedest thing. The opportunities, a chance at life. Now we're going into West Virginia. The opportunities out there is no guarantee in this life. None. Zero. Nada. But you have to make the best of the opportunities that are out there. And if it's not working where you're at, it isn't just about money. If you're not happy, you know the old saying, money isn't everything. That's true. But it's not nothing either. You have to make a living. But you want to be happy too. You can't be happy every minute of the day. Things come across in life. Illness, other people, and just bad luck in general. It brings down and makes life difficult. I get it. More than anybody. I owned a convenience store in Battle Redemption Center in upstate New York for over 20 years, and I have zero to show for it now. And it's sad. I did the best I could, put my head down, and I wouldn't let them beat me. Maybe 10 years ago, I probably should have left. And there you see, I mean, look at this. Look at this scenery. It's amazing how far you can see. Absolutely incredible. It's a little pull off on the highway. A lot of people were there. I mean, look, that right there, folks, is America. That is what it's all about. Small towns, medium-sized towns, farms, small businesses, medium-sized businesses. America isn't about the Amazons, and the Twitters, and the Facebooks, all those things. America really isn't even about Washington, D.C. They are so detached from the rest of us, which is odd because they came from us. They're our representatives. Now, I would say a good 50-60% still believe in the things that Americans believe in. I know my Congress member, Claudia Tenney, is outstanding. She's got backbone. She lives in upstate New York in a small town, and it's great. But look at this. This is really what it's all about. Friendships, families, working together, having fun, being happier as much as life will allow, and living your best life. You only get one, and it's a shame. And if you waste it, you can never get it back. They asked Thomas Edison once what he thinks the most valuable thing in the world is. And he said time, because all the money in the world cannot buy 1 second of it. And that's true. And you younger people out there, I know it's scary. I know it's difficult. If you're not happy where you're at, plan to get out and go somewhere where you can start over. Starting over is hard, but it's exhilarating, it's exciting, and scary both. But you have to do it. But you can't continue doing the same things over, and over and expect a different result. Look at the state of California, the mess that it's in now. But back in the early 20th century, and millions went there from all over the United States and the world. And it became the 8th largest economy in the world with its beauty and its scenery. Now this is going through the countryside, going south from West Virginia through Kentucky. It's just amazing. Look at the beautiful farms, the trees, the hills, the brooks, the streams. It's an amazing place, America. And the farther south I went, the more I loved it. And if you're wondering why I'm going so fast, I sped up the speed of the video. I didn't want it to be too long. But look at these horse ranches and these farms. Absolutely stunning. I believe this is in Virginia as I was heading towards Chancellorsville, and I did an episode on the Chancellorsville battlefield. Very cool place. Saw the monument where Stonewall Jackson was mortally wounded, and there's also a small stone to a Union unknown soldier, which I thought was very cool. But I want you to see how clean it is. You see any garbage? You see any people that throw crap out their windows? It's not that they're better people. They just have respect for where they live. They love where they live. They don't want to tarnish it. They don't want to tax the hell out of everybody and make everything run down. They love this place. Even people that aren't from here would do anything to keep it like it is. Change is inevitable. But the kind of change we're talking about is destroying this country. Look how beautiful it is. I mean, it is. I keep saying that. Maybe my command of the language is such that I can't think of a better description. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause and I'm going to show you a few clips from Crossville, Tennessee, the place where I might go. So let's just do a few clips on that. I did an episode on it already, but I think this is a good part in the video to stop and take a look at what I'm talking about. Take a look at what's out there. And it's only one place out of hundreds and hundreds and thousands that you can look at, check out online with the internet. You should be able to look up anything. So let me just show you some quick photographs of Crossville, and then we'll move on to the rest of the trip. That's a nice little town, isn't it? It's got a rich history. But it's a small town, and it has everything you'd ever want. Modern hospital complex, retail, including a Walmart, unfortunately. But, sometimes retail is there, but there's restaurants everywhere. There's a great mix of old and new. But the old, they've kept manners, the traditions, even though many people from outside the area have come in. And this is me going to Virginia Beach, where my daughter and her family lives. My granddaughter and her husband and my daughter all live in Virginia Beach, so this is me going over the bridge into Virginia Beach. And as I went more east, I should say more north, I noticed the attitudes of the people changed. I noticed they were different. I could feel it immediately. It's not because I was looking for it, because it actually did change. It actually did. And I was saddened by that. Rules and restrictions on every door and every gas station and every restaurant, and can't do this, you can't do that, you're barred from doing this, you're barred from doing that. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. And I was sad. And it confirmed what I knew, but I had to see for myself that, yes, looking for freedom is hard. But it's easy to find, and it's easy to lose as well. I didn't want it to be true. I didn't want it that where I live in the state of New York, most of Pennsylvania, is just dictatorial. And not just in its edicts, shutdowns, rules, regulations, but taxes. It tax you into the Stone Age. Freedom is also about, I had to work in a calendar year over 4 months. That's January, February, March, and April, and part of May, for nothing, just to pay my property taxes, my state and local taxes. Yeah, I had to work for over 4 months for free. That's what freedom is about too. It's about getting to keep what you earn. That you work for somebody else and get nothing for it. That's loss of freedom. In the state of Tennessee, there is no state tax. Now, they do have a little bit higher sales tax, but it's a consumption tax. Whoever consumes the most pays the most. So the people that have money actually pay more taxes. What a concept. And I was saddened, but I was glad that I found out that it's the way it is. and it helped me inch closer to my decision that sometime in the future, might be 2, might be 3 years, who knows, I'll venture down to Crossville in that part of Tennessee. My uncle, who lived in Johnson City, Tennessee, he grew up here in Binghamton. He was a professor of special education. Told me years ago to move down there, and I didn't. And there's been several opportunities in my life where I've been homeless, got divorced, was a chance to start over, and I didn't have the nerve to leave. And maybe I should have, but I didn't. You can't go back and change things. You can only move forward. And don't worry about how old you are. Don't worry about what your situation is. If you need to go, take the steps now and go. Wherever you're at. Even if you're in the South, you're in a bad place. Go somewhere else. If you're in the West, you're in the East, the Midwest, the Northwest, anywhere. America is about starting over. America is the shining city on the hill. Ronald Reagan was correct. I will start to worry when the people of the world that want to start over, I'll start worrying when they stop trying to get in here. And it should be difficult to get in here. You shouldn't let everybody in. And we were built, this country was built on immigrants, and it will stay that way. We have to do it responsibly. We have to do it so it doesn't flip over the culture and the economy. Slowly but surely, we take in more immigrants than any country on earth at over 1 million per year. That's a lot, folks. We're very generous and very, very welcoming, unlike what the press says. You see those poor people at the airport in Afghanistan. They know their freedoms are going to be lost real quick. And once you lose them, it's almost impossible to get them back. But enough of that negative part. Let's talk about overall. Do I think our country is about ready to fold the republic? Our country's going to split up? I don't know. I think if we do, the so-called red states will keep the Constitution of the United States, maybe even enforce it. First, Second Amendment especially, other amendments as well. There's a reason why they're there, to spell out clearly about our God-given rights, not rights given by government. Rights cannot be given by government. They're false. They're fake. God-given rights that the Constitution spells out. And I think that maybe it'll be a good thing. I don't know. I really don't know. These other superpowers that are fighting with us, China, for example, is the number one. And we're going to have to see how things turn out. But as you can see, I'm going across the bridge there. You get to the peninsula in Virginia Beach. And I'm thinking to myself, it was my leg returning home, staying at my daughter and her family's house. And I was thinking, what an amazing time I had. I saw so many cool things. Talked to so many amazing people. Now I tried to interview a couple. It just wasn't working, so I stopped asking. But I got to find a way, if any of you have any hints out there, how you can get the average person just to shoot the breeze. I'll bring my podcast equipment. All I need is a plug. There's no video involved. There's 2 microphones and a podcast equipment. I have a Rodecaster Pro, so it's easy to move around. And we'll see. Maybe I'll get some more interviews with people or just talk to them and take notes. But that's my thoughts on my trip. And I wish it could have lasted 2 more weeks. I could have actually done it. But even you get homesick even for places that are giving you trouble. All my memories are here. Both of my children are outside the state, so that's not a thing that's keeping me here. My mother's still here, and one brother passed away. My dad's passed away. I have quite a few cousins and a lot of friends that I grew up with, people that I've been friends with when I had my convenience store. And it's tough. And there it is on the bridges that go to the peninsula, to Virginia Beach. How beautiful. How beautiful is that? That's just one tiny piece of America. The place these people are trying to destroy. It's the most stunning place. It's the most amazing country that ever existed. We have everything, all the seasons. We have all the terrain. We have oceans. We have mountains. We have deserts. We have forests. We have swamps. We have it all. We have everything there is to offer nature-wise in the United States. Period. And that's excluding Hawaii and Alaska, which opens up way more nature and possibilities. We're so blessed here. We're so lucky here. We're so lucky we had the natural resources. We had the isolation from European conflicts for centuries actually. We have all the natural resources we would ever want right here. There's very little that you need to run a modern society that's not here already. And people just don't know it. And now there's a sign for Virginia as I was going back. You have to cut through Maryland, Delaware to get back up north to Pennsylvania, and through central Pennsylvania, then straight up to Binghamton. That was my return trip. And I just took a little bit of footage there from the rest stop. And there's Maryland, going through Maryland, coming back towards upstate New York. And the whole time I'm coming back, I'm thinking, what have I learned? What have I discovered? I titled this, Looking for Freedom in America. Looking for freedom in the United States. And I think I found it. Now, what to do? Anybody have any suggestions? Put in the comments. How do you pick up from where you grew up and you're in your mid-60s and you need to start over? How about some hints, some tricks, some tips? I would really appreciate it. And then towards the end here, I'm going to talk about what I've learned for certain and some things that I thought were true weren't. And as this video winds down, it was an amazing trip. It was an amazing time. And I'm going to talk about now what I learned. Some of the things I already knew. We're not the racist, ridiculous, evil place that they make us out to be. When I hear the national anthem being played, I still get goosebumps. And if you don't, I feel sorry for you. This is the place the whole world wants to come to. As a gentleman from Venezuela said one time, I saw he was giving a speech at the RNC convention. He says, I don't think Americans understand that if America falls, if you lose your freedoms and your Constitution, if America falls, in the world, there's nowhere left to go. Everybody in the world knows what an amazing place this is, except for us. And it just reinforced what I already knew even more. This is an amazing place. It's a wonderful place. It's a place that's never existed in world history at this scale. And the amazing part is, when the founders founded the country and the Constitution and the Republic, they never thought it would last. But it succeeded way past their wildest dreams and the longevity. In fact, every historian that's asked whenever I watch History Channel or other places that actually have real historians on occasion, older ones, older videos who don't talk like the morons they do now, and it's all are asked, what would the founders say if they were here today? And almost every single one of them says they would be amazed that we lasted this long. Not that we were as successful as we were, that we lasted this long. So that I already knew, and it reinforced it, and that made me feel better. It made my back a little straighter. I sat up, and I realized that things, even though sometimes they're dark, there's ways out. And I'm 95% there. Before the trip, I was probably about 65, 70%, and it's creeping closer. What did I learn that I thought was true? One of my favorite sayings that anybody that knows me longer than a week is that people suck. Everyone, including myself, some just suck a lot more than others. And I realized depending on where you go, that's all true no matter where you go. But on my trip, as I went through West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, I realized they suck a lot less there. They're a lot friendlier, kinder. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the South, there's a channel called Hoag, H-O-A-G. He's a California transplant that lives in Tennessee. And he says he pulled over his car once to use the cell phone. And when he looked up, there were 2 or 3 cars behind him. And in front of him, they couldn't figure out what the heck. People saw his car was pulled over, and they pulled over to see if he needed any help. That's what I'm talking about. There's a funeral procession driving down the street. Both sides of the road pull over to the shoulder. Both sides. And allowing them to pass out of respect. That, folks, is what America's all about. I know where it is. I know I already found it. And that people is true. But it's just something different about the mindset of people outside deep blue states, big cities. I'm not saying there aren't good people there. That of course is false. But they're surrounded so much by negativity, bad manners, just bad attitudes, no regard for each other or anybody else. It's different. As you look at the map here, as I left Tennessee, you see the arrow coming up towards the western part of Virginia, not West Virginia, but I went all the way across. And I came across Virginia going a little bit north and east. I saw the signs all over the place. Can't do this, can't do that, gotta do this, gotta do that. This is prohibited. You only can do this, and it was ridiculous. And I found it right away. Virginia is lost. The rural areas maybe are still great, but Virginia as a state is lost. It's becoming a blue state, and it'll stay that way for a long time. And it's sad, because Virginia was the outstanding southern state. Now it's not. things change. And as I went north through Delaware and Maryland and Pennsylvania, more and more rules. People at rest stops weren't as friendly. People in restaurants weren't as friendly. It was different. So that, I already knew. I had to see it. I had to experience it in order for it to sink in. There's believing and then there's knowing. And I believe it to be true. And now that I know that it is. So, that is my experiences through searching for freedom in the USA. Part 2 of my trip will be coming up either in September or October. I'm not sure. Now, my original trip went from, you see, all the way upstate New York there, the big blue circle and the black arrow pointing is where I'm from. This time I'm going to go through Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware. I'm going to stop by Richmond, maybe see a few battlefield sites. I'm probably going to go by Gettysburg because I go right by there. I haven't been to Gettysburg since I was a boy. Travel south, hit a couple of historical places in Virginia, and then go to Virginia Beach. You see there on the right, just above the North Carolina border on the ocean, where my daughter and her family lives. I'm going to cut across North Carolina through Raleigh. Now, I used to live in Boone, North Carolina as a boy in the summer, and that's in the northwest corner of North Carolina in the mountains, right by the Tennessee border. It's beautiful there. And I'm going to cut through northern South Carolina, northern Georgia, above Atlanta. Atlanta's a zoo. Cut across northern Alabama, where I've never been that far south. I flew to Florida once, but I've never driven through any of this. Swing over to Mississippi, and then go back north and east to central Tennessee, where that big blue X is. And that's where Crossville is, that place I showed you earlier. And that's where I think I'm going to end up. I might take a lot more time this trip. Now, the black arrow is from Crossville all the way to my home. I'm going to take a lot more time this trip. Maybe try to talk to some locals, as they call them. They're friendly people. They're open people. Especially as you get down to South Carolina and Georgia, rural North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. And just shoot the breeze with them and ask them what it's like here and what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and get an idea of what people are experiencing, what their beliefs are. I pretty much know, but I just need to be reinforced. I need that little bit more of a push for me to leave. I've got 20 years of stuff here in my house. I sold my business and my building. It's at my house left. I've got 20 years of stuff. I don't want to throw everything in the dumpster. Maybe I'll just give a lot of it away to friends and family and donate the rest. I don't know. I'll figure it out one way or another. It's an older Victorian, needs a lot of work. It's a beautiful place. I'm just too old to put that kind of money in it. But it'll be a great project for some young couple or some young, ambitious people. You get a good start, maybe in fixing up homes and real estate. So an opportunity for me in Tennessee makes an opportunity for somebody else here. And that's the way it is. But this is going to be the second leg of my trip. I'm going to try to get a lot more footage, not just highway footage, small town footage. Take a lot more time this time. I think it's going to be, I was gone almost 2 weeks on part 1 of my trip. Now that I'm looping around the other way, I think I'm going to take 3, maybe even 4 weeks. I don't know. But I'm going to do it properly the best I can. Get a little better footage. Not so much jiggling around. I'm getting better with the camera as time goes on in my podcast equipment. I'm learning. I'm an old dog, but I can still learn some new tricks. So there it is, folks. That's Searching for Freedom in the USA, Part 1. And I want to leave this with everybody that's listening or sees this video, because I'm on podcast sites as well. This is the greatest country that ever existed. It has the most amazing people. It's beautiful. It's spacious. It's gorgeous. And opportunity is everywhere. You just have to find it. And it's hard, but you can do it. If you're unhappy, make a change. Life is short, really short. You don't realize how short it is until you start getting older. 40, 45, 50, 55. And you look back and you go, the things you regret most, everybody screws up, everybody makes mistakes they feel badly about. But the things I regret more than anything are the things I didn't do. We've all messed up in our personal relationships, whether it be family, sons, daughters, wives, husbands, parents, siblings. We've all messed up. But the most important thing I look back on is the things that I didn't do that I wanted to. And that, folks, is sad, because you can't go back in time. This isn't a movie. Even though I love time travel movies and I love period pieces, you can never go back. So think about that. Think about your personal happiness. Think about how you could help the future of your country and the community you live in. And then just do it. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.